Hey guys, Bryan here from Liquid Concepts. So today on our weekly tips and tricks video, we're going to do some cleaning. And so we've got a tank that is in dire need of some cleaning. So had a couple of you guys ask about what all it takes to clean a tank. Now, of course, every one of them is going to be different. They make aluminum tanks, stainless tanks, fiberglass tanks, all different kinds of tanks. Of course, with ours that we manufacture, all of ours are stainless, so it makes it super quick, super easy, and relatively low maintenance on cleaning everything up. So kind of show you guys a few things of what we do whenever we clean our tanks all the time, so then that way you can see what it takes to clean the tank, get it all ready to go, so then that way we can keep knocking out awesome looking products day after day. So let's get started. So first thing is, of course, definitely gonna need some gloves. And so what we've got here is we've got a bottle of lacquer thinner. You can use paint reducer, lacquer thinner, acetone. Any of those products normally work pretty well. We found that lacquer thinner normally works the best just because it does eat into a lot of the inks and everything like that on the tank. Now again, also you definitely want to make sure that you check with whatever manufacturer that you have on your tank, because sometimes those can damage it, especially on fiberglass tanks or something like that. So these are going to be specific for mainly our tanks and probably most stainless tanks, but again, check with the manufacturer of your tank just to make sure on the recommended cleaning instructions. So here's what we do on cleaning our tanks. So of course we've got our gloves that we'll put on here, and we've got our lacquer thinner, and now we're ready to go. So coming over here, you can see we've got a couple of different things. Of course, we've got our reservoir right here, and of course, as we always turn the pump on, all the excess film and everything like that from a dip, it'll always come over, fall into the filter grid area, and then get recycled over and over and over. So inevitably, as this all comes down through here, we get tons of buildup all through here. Not a big deal, but it's something that we definitely want to clean, so that way whenever we go to get some new water and everything in here to start dipping again, everything is nice and clean and it all works exactly the way that it needs to. So a lot of the times what we like to do is, of course, if you just take this and you can get an old scraper, we actually keep this one just for cleaning the tank. This works really well because then we're not having to use any types of scrapers that we normally would use on like body work or anything like that. You can use a plastic scraper, but we found that the metal scrapers normally work pretty good because they can actually dig into it and it has a little bit more sharper edge on it, so then that way it helps bring up any of that excess film. The other thing is that you do need a couple of Scotch-Brite pads. Those work really well as well. Whenever you are cleaning everything off, after you've scraped it up like that, you can pour your lacquer thinner on here and then literally just wipe it right off with the Scotch-Brite pads. Of course, after you're through with these, you're gonna just throw them away. They're gonna be nasty, and so definitely you're going to have to dispose of those correctly and throw those away because there's no more reusing those. So a lot of the times on something like this, we can take this and you can take and scrape this right here, and that'll get up most everything. Now, of course, we're not going to be reusing any of this filter media, so we will be throwing that away. So I'll just go ahead and throw that on there. If not, then we would take a lot of this right here, throw it in a trash can, and then that way it's ready to go and we can continue on. So once we've kind of got the bulk of everything off of here, just scraped up like this right here and like this right here, it does come off pretty easily. It's not that hard. That's a nice thing about stainless, is that it does not stick very well to the stainless, so that way your cleanup is very easy. So once we've got most of the bigger debris off of it, then we can come in and run our lacquer thinner just right down this edge just like that. Now with the lacquer thinner, we're going to let it sit for just probably maybe a minute, even 30 seconds. And what you can see is you can already see how whenever we put the lacquer thinner on here, it's already starting to pretty much wet out all of these inks that are on here. So now literally with just one swipe of just this Scotch-Brite pad right here, I can literally just wipe that completely off and now it's almost brand new again. So again, we can take this and run one run right down there and then swipe that down like that, and cleanup is literally a breeze. I can come back in with a towel, I can wipe that off, and we are pretty much ready to go. So again, just like on the reservoir, we've got our divider system that we're going to be using the exact same way. So with something like this right here, of course, all of our dividers are stainless, makes it really nice and easy. So we'll take this, we'll literally just scrape all of this up. Now, the excess that we've got right here, it normally comes off pretty easily just like that. So we can set that off to the side just like that, and then we can just run some lacquer thinner down here just to soften up the inks. And then once that softens it up, you can literally see the inks almost rolling right off of that. Matter of fact, it's dripping off right down through there. So lacquer thinner works really well. And then once we let it sit for just a little bit, we can literally just wipe it off just like that. And then literally we've got brand new tank dividers all right there. And so with just a little bit of elbow grease, doesn't take much at all, these things can literally look brand new. So next thing after that is we've of course got to drain the tank. So with draining the tank, pretty much it's going to be literally just hooking up the hose, and then we're going to run it out to our drain and let it run down into the drain. Now, this is one thing that might be different depending on where you live, so I will tell you this. We've never had an instance where a city has denied anybody from doing this, but you definitely want to check with your local code to make sure where you need to drain it at, whether you can drain it into the drain or whether you can drain it into a yard or something like that. So something like that you would probably need to check with like your local water authority or code enforcement or something like that. But definitely that's going to be between state and local codes in your area. Of course, for us, we've had our water tested. They've tested it. It doesn't have a flash point with all the chemicals and everything that we've got in here. So they said that we're good to go directly down the drain. But again, definitely check with your local authorities on that to make sure on where you need to drain it at. So we'll hook up the drain. We'll let the drains go. It'll take probably 30 minutes to an hour or so to drain everything out of here. While it's draining, this is very important. While it's draining, you can see that we've got these breaks in this tank right here and right here. As this media and everything settles and falls after each dip, inevitably some of it gets caught on this edge right here on the inside. One thing to make sure of is that as you're draining that, while it's still wet, take a hose with a good jet setting and just pretty much just hit that all the way around the tank. And what that does is as it's wet, and you want to make sure that it still stays wet, whenever it's still wet like that, it'll literally just fall off the side. Another great thing about a stainless tank compared to a lot of the other tanks, you don't have to scrub it, you don't have to do anything to it. Literally, you just take a nozzle on a jet setting, spray it around, you're good to go. So same thing like what we done with our tank dividers and our reservoir. We're going to take some lacquer thinner. As this starts to drain down, we're going to clean off all around in here. Of course, clean off our dividers, clean down into here, all around these edges like that. Once we've got that, we're pretty much good to go. Then once we have that, we're going to let everything drain. Of course, we'll hit our edges all the way around, knock off any excess that's sitting there on the sides or anything. And again, once it's wet, it comes off super easy. So as it's going down, every 20 minutes or so, maybe check it, grab your water hose, spray it around, you're good to go. Super easy. The other thing is that whenever it gets down to the very bottom and nothing else will drain out of the tank, we actually have breaks built into the bottom of our tanks to funnel water into the actual the drain. A lot of tanks, they just have a big hole there and they hope that it goes down in it. Small little key features like that we like to provide, so that way it makes it a lot easier. The other thing is that with those dividers to help drain the tank into the actual drain hole, it's less to clean up whenever we have everything all drained out. So a lot of the times what we like to do is we like to have a dedicated shop vac. And so this is pretty much a shop vac that you know you're not going to do anything else with but just vacuum up the excess that comes out of the bottom of the tank. So we bought one specifically for that. Super cheap. You can buy them on eBay or Amazon or even Home Depot. It doesn't have to be anything spectacular, just mainly that it's a wet dry vac. And then literally once it's done, and y'all will see it here as we're going through here, but once it's drained down, then we'll take and we will get the shop vac, and then we'll vacuum up whatever else is still left in there, which is normally just a very small amount of water, and then it'll pull up all the water, all the excess debris, any tape that has fallen down, any residue. We'll literally take that, we'll dump it, we'll drain it, and then once that's done, we'll give it a final overall look, make sure everything looks good, make sure everything's clean and satisfactory. Then of course, as we're already got everything down and it's completely drained out, we're also going to do a little bit of maintenance just to make sure that everything's running properly. We're going to check our heating elements, make sure everything still looks good with them, make sure there's not, you know, any bad connections or we got water that's eating into any of our the heating elements themselves. Check the plumbing fittings, make sure everything's still tight, you know, just normal maintenance stuff. But by doing that, it really helps in keeping all of your machines and everything like that, especially a tank like this, up and running all the time. So then that way, whenever you drain it, you're not just drain it, fill it up, and then you never look at anything. We always try to make sure that we keep everything on point with the maintenance, so then that way everything stays as clean as possible, it works as good as what it can, and we put out as good of a quality as we can whenever we're doing any of our jobs. So let's get everything hooked up, let's get this thing draining, and we'll show you guys what we're talking about. All right, so now that we've got the tank draining, again, it's just now draining. We've got the first break all the way around that you can see, and of course it's got tons of slime and everything like that that's on these edges all the way around here. So all we're gonna do is, like I said, we're gonna take the take this right here, we're going to turn it to the jet setting like that, so that way, oh, that's missed, there we go. And so now you can see that, and now you can see just how quickly that comes right off. So all we're going to do is just pretty much just start spraying it all the way around here as it's draining, and then it'll be super easy and super quick cleanup. That's pretty much it. Once we've got all of that sprayed, we'll let the water keep going down. It'll go all the way down to the second break that we've got in the tank, and then we'll spray it off again. And then of course, one last time whenever it's all the way at the bottom, just to kind of get anything off of the walls or anything like that. But that is one thing that I definitely love about having a full stainless tank, is that nothing really sticks to it, and literally as you're rinsing it all down, that's all you have to do. And then, you know, if you do have some hard to reach stuff or areas like this in here and all of this right in through here, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get all that cleaned up. But as you just saw, super easy to clean, and it definitely makes draining it, cleaning it, filling it back up that much quicker. So we're gonna go ahead, let it sit, let it finish draining, we'll spray it out again, and then show you guys some more stuff whenever whenever it's down to that point, so stay tuned. All right, so now that we've got everything drained out, now all we got to do is vacuum it up. So again, like I was saying, we've got a wet vac here. This is a 5 peak horsepower, 12 gallon. Again, you don't have to have anything super fancy. You just mainly need a good wet vac that you will probably only use just for cleaning this out. That's the reason why we bought this. Works really great, and we've been really happy with it. So as you can see into the tank here, we've got tons of just crap just laying down there. We've got a lot of our tape and everything, and of course that's just kind of just normal stuff that you're gonna have whenever you're draining stuff like this out. So a couple of things on attachment wise is we have on the vacuum, we have a very long hose. So of course, you definitely need a longer hose to be able to get all the way down inside of it. The other thing that we've got with this one is that we've been really happy with is, number one, we have this top portion right here, which is more like a cone, and it actually, whenever you're vacuuming everything up, it sucks everything up more like a blade, and so it works really well. The other thing is if you wanted to, of course, you could take this off, use just the round surface here. That would still work. I do find that this one does create more of a vacuum to pull things into it, so that's kind of why we go with this right here. The other thing is, you can see we've got a pretty decent size arm on the end of it, and this actually really helps out because then I can literally just go into right here and I'm all the way at the other end of the tank. So if you do have a larger tank like this right here, this really helps out. Of course, if you don't, then if you have a smaller tank, it's not a big deal. All you gotta do is just take the hose and you can vacuum everything up, and no big deal at all. So let's go ahead, we'll flip it on, and then we'll start vacuuming everything up, and then go dump it out, and then it'll be ready to get everything, just do a final cleaning, and then start filling it back up. So let's kick this thing on and get started. A lot of the times I like to just sit here like this, and you can see it literally just starts pulling everything straight to it. So you don't have to do a lot of actual vacuuming or anything like that. It pulls it right to where it's vacuuming it up at. A lot of the times with the vacuum, if you let it sit there like that, it will literally just pull all the water right to it. So then that way you don't have to sit there and just soak it with water. Just letting it get just that little bit of water. Now that it's got this, you can hear it change sound. So of course now we're ready to dump this. We can come back. We got one more time after this, and then pretty much we're done with it. But doing it like that, as you can tell, we've pretty much got it very nice and clean, and we didn't even have to get anything dirty at all, other than just vacuuming it up like that. We found that works really good, and it normally works the best on getting everything out of the bottom of the tank without actually having to go in there, scrub it, do all of that. But the main key is that you got to make sure that you do it while it's still wet, because if it doesn't, if you don't and you let it dry, it's a lot harder to get off. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna go dump this, come back, get the rest of this, and then we'll be ready to start filling it back up, so stay tuned. All right, so now that we've got everything all vacuumed out, we've got just a little bit left that we gotta get, and so that's gonna be very easy. We've got a little bit that is dried right along in through here. Not a big deal at all. All we gotta do is just take a broom and pretty much just sweep that a little bit. It'll come right off. And again, that's the nice thing about stainless, is that everything comes off of it very quickly, very easily, and then pretty much after that, all we got to do is start filling it back up, and we're good to go. So we're going to get this thing spotless and then start filling it back up, and then we'll be good to go. And of course, we're also going to be replacing our filter tray. So we've already used it twice, as you can see over there. We've got that side and this side. So we're going to replace all of this, but we can do all of this while it's filling, and then that way we can be back up and running a lot quicker. All right, so now that we've got everything filled up, we pretty much have a brand new tank ready to go for tons of dipping and tons of happy customers. So of course, as you can see, we've got all of our dividers already all cleaned off. We've got our long divider, it's cleaned off. Now again, it's not spotless, doesn't have to be, but we got the majority of all the stuff off of it, which is exactly what we need. We got a brand new filter in there, so pretty much the tank's happy, we're happy, and we're gonna be knocking out some awesome dips. So hopefully this video has really helped you guys out. If it has, definitely give us a thumbs up. We'd love to have that. And you know, if you have any questions or comments about cleaning the tank, what to use, what you have, and what you might be able to use on your tank, definitely comment below. We'd love to hear from you on that. And also, if you haven't already, definitely hit the subscribe button. We'd love to have you subscribe to our weekly tips and tricks. I'm Bryan from Liquid Concepts. We're making hydrographics great again. We'll see you guys next time.